away from the insanity. I'm standing here today to tell you that being pro-women and pro-reality is not being anti-anything. Females have rights, including our right to privacy and safety in single-sex spaces. It is wrong to allow biological men into these spaces. It is wrong to force young women to have to speak up about how they're uncomfortable with men in their spaces. And it is outrageous to then try to intimidate, silence, and punish young women who have been forced to speak up for themselves. Today, there should be 3 young women here standing with me. They should be able to tell their own story. But once again, the Democrat Party in this building has chosen to put the confidentiality and feelings of men using women's spaces over the safety, privacy, and voices of women. We won't let these girls be silenced. It's gone too far. We all have a responsibility to stand up for these young women. So tell everyone you know what's happening here, reach out to leadership, and tell them this isn't okay. Do not be afraid to speak the truth. And with that, I would like to introduce Representative Scott Bottoms, who has stepped into the fold to speak up on behalf of these young women who work alongside him in the Capitol. Scott Bottoms.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you all for being here. This bill 1312 that's coming up that everybody is talking about. It's part of a bigger subject. It's not a one moment thing. This is something we've been dealing with the 3 years that I've been here, but actually I had a senator call me that was here around 17, 18 and said this has been happening since then. That there is a push down of any ideology, of any voice, of any thought process that is not the transgender ideology. We have the bill that is going to take children away from parents if you don't affirm this. For the 3 years that I've been here, and I have video to prove this, I have been gavelled down, I have been asked to leave the well, I've been yelled at by the speaker. I have video for all of this because I misgender somebody or I dead name somebody. That is not a real construct. That is a make-believe thing. That is not real. And I don't have to be a part of it just because somebody wants to control my free speech, even if it's the Speaker of the House. They are not allowed to control my free speech, and I am not aligning with that mentality. Now what we have here is the same time this 1312 is popping up, we also have legislative aides that filed a complaint because men are in their bathrooms. I don't care what the men call themselves, they're men biologically and they're in the bathrooms of women. This is sexual harassment, this is a loss of freedom, a loss of privacy, and so when they file the complaint, the rules say of this House that is supposed to say separate from the leadership, like the Speaker, Majority, Minority Leader. It's supposed to say separate. It was released to them from the HR department. And then there is this confidentiality thing that they've been putting on top of it, and they were bullying these aides even yesterday, saying you will not come out and speak, you will not talk to the media, because there is a confidentiality agreement that the aides have held to, but the rest of the leadership has not held to. At least the Democrat leadership. I think our Republican leadership has held to it, but we know for sure the Democrat leadership has not held to it because lawyers were brought into this to attack the legislative aides. Now they're making a complaint that's supposed to have whistleblower protection, and immediately this complaint is run all the way up the flagpole, and these women, these legislative aides, these professional women that are trying to get into politics, they are squished, told to be quiet, shut up, sit down, and know your place. When did we go back to that? Women no longer have rights to this? Well, I'm telling you, for me personally, enough is enough. This is not okay. We are going to together, you and I and the state of Colorado. See, here's the other side of the coin. This 1312, the Democrats are not even in favor of it. The Marxists in this House are in favor of it. The leftists in this House are in favor of it. But But the Democrats of the state are not in favor of it. Every group you can imagine is coming out against it. But this Marxist group is going to say, no, we will squish women in the process. We need to reclaim Colorado, and we need to reclaim women. We need to reclaim their rights. We need to reclaim their privacy. We need to reclaim the integrity and the respect that we used to have for women in this state. We don't have it anymore. We are beating it down, we are destroying it, and we're destroying it over an ideology, and the leadership in the room behind me, right now, they are the ones responsible for destroying this and beating it down. We've got plenty of evidence to prove this. I've got videos to prove this. Guys, this has got to stop. We need to reclaim Colorado.
Thank you, Scott, arguably the fiercest fighter in the House behind us. Brandy Bradley has come off of the floor. She's in the middle of third readings, but I'd like to call her up as one of the strongest women here in the House who will not back down on protecting children, family, women, and our freedoms. Brandy Bradley.
Thank you, guys. So, you know what coercive control is? Telling children they're born in the wrong body. So that's what coercive control is. Coercive control are pediatricians cutting off healthy body parts of children. That is what coercive control is, without any sort of research or FDA approved medicine to back up their science. That is coercive control. Coercive control is telling a 12-year-old that goes to an art club and trying to transition them under a gay sex alliance club. We are not going to stand for it anymore. We're not going to stand for the communists to tell us how we should bring up our children. The line in the sand has been drawn, and we're going to continue to fight for the children in the state of Colorado. We are done, and I'm glad that all of you are here today to stand and help us fight. The line in the sand is our children, and we are not going to tolerate it anymore. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, quickly, now he's not a woman, but he stands for women's rights and parental rights, and I know because this man has represented my family against the school district who harmed us. So I want to welcome up constitutional attorney Brad Burkford.
Our national anthem opens with a serious question. It's a question each of us must answer every morning. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly was hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? We must ask ourselves whether the freedom which we had accomplished by the end of daylight yesterday remains after a night of assaults upon it. We must ask whether the flag of liberty, Old Glory, which we triumphantly planted and saluted last night, survived to the morning. Implicit in this great question is whether we fought through the night, whether we held off the marauding hordes to preserve, at least for one more day, the liberty for which we and those who have gone before us pledge our support of this country with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, mutually pledging to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The attacks on our liberty have come in great waves in recent years. I suppose they always have. Today's attacks are aimed at our children. Totalitarians have set out to carve them up. It matters not to them whether they do so in the womb or during the formative years, so long as they carve them up. I suppose that they will carve up every child they can, apparently hoping to disfigure the image of the Creator in each of them until they are as grotesque as the motivations that animate their evil. It is unimportant why these evildoers come to carve up our children. What matters is whether we will stand to protect them, whether we will step in between the wickedness of ghouls and the innocence of our children. I suppose to prevent us from standing, the totalitarians now attempt to silence our peaceful dissent. Instead, they would stifle our insistence on remaining moored to reality while compelling our children to divorce from it. They would punish us for suggesting that science experiments on our children and the permanent mutilations that result are inappropriate. They would menace us with the threat of taking away our children altogether, where no doubt they hope to perform their macabre desecrations. The bill before this legislature, euphemistically known as Concerning Legal Protections for Transgender Individuals, would do everything it purports to oppose. It pretends to protect the best interests of children, but it would leave children unprotected from the Frankenstein swarm who would permanently damage them. It would also, in family courts, count mothers' and fathers' efforts to actually protect their children against them, and would favor the parents who would throw their lot in with those whose activities would constitute war crimes under the Hague Convention. It pretends to protect children from being transferred from a parent who would harm her to the parent who would shield her. In actuality, it would prohibit Colorado courts from applying laws and rulings of other states designed to actually protect children. It pretends to be lawful, but it would violate the Constitution's full faith and credit clause, which mandates that each state must give full faith and credit to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. It pretends to support children in school, but it would require schools, including private and parochial schools, to go along with any child's fantasies about names and gender, even if it violates truth and the school's religious or other purposes which conflict with the fantasies. It pretends to give freedom, but it would impose onerous regulations that are disconnected from reality and which would facilitate fraudulent acts. It pretends to protect against discrimination. It would subject any person whose belief system requires truthfulness, including religious belief systems, to legal penalties for speech that uses the actual names or actual genders of people who do not want to be so identified. In short, 1312 takes away parental rights, free speech, and constitutional protections that have been understood as part of the American tradition from her beginning. Yes, 1312 will be challenged in court, but do you want to rely on lawyers and judges to protect your children, your constitutional rights, your freedom? The enforcement of 1312 might lead to your imprisonment. Indeed, this is just the first step. If history is any indicator, and if this bill is passed, it will only get worse over time. I urge you to stand today, stand on this hill. Stand between evil and everything we hold dear. I ask you, does that same Star-Spangled Banner yet wave? And will it wave tomorrow?
Thank you so much, Brad. And then finally, I'm putting them on the spot. What I want to bring up two women who I greatly admire. Thompson School Board member Nancy Rumpfelt, who has taken a very bold stand for protecting females in their single-sex spaces, and Gina Stedman, who's a mother of athletes and has been at the forefront of fighting for single-sex rights. So, Nancy.
Hello, everyone. I am honored to be here, and I am here in my individual capacity sharing my opinion, and my opinion is that we are failing our children. As a school board director,